Wow, I really feel the Lord's presence. I really appreciate you guys kind of letting me just do instrumental. Had a lot of really great services here in the last week, and I'll just kind of back up a little bit and share with you where all I've been. So, for those of you who don't know, I think it was back in 2000, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that area, there was a revival that broke out in Mobile, Alabama. And it was the former pastor of Brownsville Assembly of God, where revival had broken out in the late 90s, so 95 through 2000. I was touched, moved by the Lord very, very deeply. I responded to the Lord to answer the call to lead worship in those meetings. And it was just really just a seminal time for me, where my plans had been to be a rock star. And the Lord really pulled me into himself to be a minister in his house, even though that call had been over my life for a long time. Anyway, in the 2010, 11, 12 era, the Lord broke out in a mighty move of God in Mobile, Alabama. Pastor John Kilpatrick was there. He had been the pastor of Brownsville when revival had broken out there. So They were doing some special services, and an evangelist by the name of Nathan Morris came and was preaching the gospel, preaching, and the Lord poured out His Spirit in a very, very special way, and they saw miraculous healings. Um, and I think in this day and age, I need to say documented miraculous healings. So not just headaches that went away, although I rejoice when that happens, but documented miraculous healings. For instance, a woman who she'd been hit by a drunk driver in a car and had been paralyzed from the waist down for 20 years, verified, medically verified, medically verified, and she was miraculously healed and is still walking today. And so just and many, many, many more with X-rays, doctor explanations. Like, we have no explanation for this. This is a miracle. It was just over and over and over. That man, Nathan Morris, has an evangelistic ministry here now in Orlando, and I had just the privilege of going and leading worship for their inaugural evangelism training intensive last week. And it was just a real privilege to be in there with people from all over the world, really, that were coming to be trained and equipped and commissioned to share the gospel. And I love being around evangelists, guys. Up until we moved to Central Florida, I had only ever been around pastors and prophets and teachers, and then evangelists would just kind of blow into town at churches I would lead worship at, and then they would blow out. And to be around evangelists, where that's the majority of the people that I'm around now, it it is just yeah, it's just life changing. I don't know how else to put it. The simplicity of the gospel has been renewed in my heart. The just the reminder that we never outgrow the simplicity of the gospel, that Jesus, that He descended from heaven, born to a virgin, lived a sinless life, died on a cross for our sins, was the atoning lamb, was the sacrificial lamb, and that He was risen, He was raised from the dead on the third day, and He ascended and is seated at the right hand of the Father. And if that you believe and confess that Jesus is Lord, that you are saved. And how everything in the Christian life still finds its essence and grows from the root of the gospel. And it really is such an incredible anchor for everything that we are and that we do as believers and disciples of Jesus. That and I can say this because I come from the prophetic world. I can say this because I come from the Word of Faith world. I don't care how out there you have gotten. If you have gotten too out there in glorious visions of heaven, that the gospel is too pedestrian for you and too plain and too simple for you, then you have gotten too far. You have wandered off from the root that we grow from, and you need to come back to a revelation of the gospel of Jesus. So it is just, it's been so good to be down here. Anyway, that was a rabbit trail, but it was so refreshing to be there at Shake the Nations with evangelist Nathan Morris for a couple of days last week. And then I led worship at my home church Sunday, Nations Church, and Pastor Daniel preached an amazing message on communion. And so you can look up Nations Church Orlando and see that past service. Plus the music was amazing. My dear friend Guy Matos and Jared March on the keyboard, and Renato and Nicholas on the guitar, and Gabe on the drums. Just wonderful team. And so, yeah, I just give you a couple of places that will be here pretty soon. I'll be in Dallas, Texas, this Saturday with Christ for All Nations. So if you look up christforallnations.org, we're having what we call an impartation breakfast meeting where we share the vision of CFAN, that's the acronym for Christ for All Nations, how they do the crusades in Africa, and how we greatly need the financial support um, so that we can put on these crusades. They have it down to if $1 comes in, a soul gets saved somewhere in the ministry of Christ for All Nations, which is just incredible. For every dollar that comes in, a soul gets rescued into eternity with Jesus. And so that's an incredible thing. And they have a really stringent way of vetting whether someone is a first time decision for Jesus. So they when they get these numbers back, they're not fluffing these numbers up. They treat it almost like an accounting office would, and it's really special to be a part of that ministry. And so yeah, March the 8th, I'll be back at my home church, Nations Church, and then I'll be in Naples, Florida, March the 12th and 13th. I'll have many of my friends with the Nations music band with me. We'll be in Naples, Florida with Katie Souza, dear sister in Christ, has an incredible, really prolific deliverance ministry. And it always seems to be that when people have experienced an attribute of the Lord to gain freedom, that they in turn have a deep well of compassion in their hearts, and they pour out of that well. And so that's something that Katie Souza does very effectively. People that have just deep wounds, need deep healing, come into these meetings and receive just the truth of the scriptures, really, to be set free from oppression. And then in March the 27th and 28th, I'll be in Seattle, Washington, with a brother of mine, Aaron Winter, and Hearts of Fire. Is going to be many powerful ministers there. Just look it up, Hearts of Fire International, Seattle, Washington, March the 27th and 28th. I'll be in Gonzales, Louisiana on April the 3rd. That's a Good Friday. It's going to be an incredible weekend. It's going to be, or really, it's going to be an incredible Friday. And I can't wait to be there. So that's at the Edge Church in Gonzales, Louisiana. Pastor Tyrone Gray, dear friend of mine. I've known Tyrone. I met him through Eric Gilmore. I've known him since, I think, 2018 now. So just an incredible brother, just been a dear friend to me. And then Easter Sunday, I'll be at the Oak Ridge campus of Nations Church, which is, I believe it's 6177 Eleanor Drive, or Eleanor Road in Orlando, Florida on April the 5th. And then I believe, I'll have to confirm this, but I believe I'll be in Fort Smith, Arkansas with my dear friend, Chris Garcia, on April the 12th, Fort Smith, Arkansas. And you can find information about the places that we're going to be on our calendar online. You can go to any of our YouTube videos and get a link there. And then also April the 30th, May the 1st, and May the 2nd, I'll be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida with Liz Wright. I am so looking forward to this conference. Many of my friends are going to be there ministering, powerful ministers, Katie Souza, Liz Wright, Eric Gilmore, who is just a dear brother and colleague of mine. William Hinn is going to be there, and many, many more. There's a worship leader named Thomas Davis that just gets on a piano, and it's just him, a piano, and a mic, and it is going to be amazing. I see someone saying, Orlando, please. So yeah, I'm going to give you all the dates that I'll be ministering in Orlando. March the 8th, March the 22nd, April 5th, and April 19th that I know of so far. I will be in Orlando ministering at my home church, Nations Church. And all of those services will be at the Dr. Phillips campus, which is at Olympia High School, in their main auditorium, except for April 5th. That day will be at the Oak Ridge campus. So, trying to see where else we'll be. Topsom, Maine, June the 22nd, June the 26th, 27th, and 28th with John and Linda Eckhart of Star On Ministries, Topsham, Maine. That's Topsham, Maine. And they have they just have a powerful church, precious ministry. They've been there for 25 or 30 years, just plowing the ground of that area. Very, very safe, um, quite prophetic ministry, but also John is just a quintessential pastor. I just, man, it was like the first time I met him, I felt like I'd known him for years. And so just wonderful, wonderful people. And so that's what we have so far. Thank you guys for sticking with me through the little tech issues. Sometimes you just never know when they're going to happen. But the Lord still came and ministered mightily. Hey, we bless you guys. And tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern Time, a.m., I'll be on Chris Garcia's YouTube channel ministering with him. So as soon as I get off here, I'm going to eat, go to bed, wake up, spend some time with the Lord. 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Go to Chris Garcia's YouTube channel, and Chris and I will be live streaming together. It's going to be wonderful. And I hope to see you all there. There will probably be 1,000 people online at the same time. It's going to be amazing. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week and tomorrow too.